So what we're going to talk about now is how important really is the interview when it comes to selecting medical and dental students. So what you have in front of you right now is a diagram that shows you the importance of UCAT. So what you have in front of you is a table that describes the importance of the interviews relative to the other two pillars of selection, that's the ATAR and the UCAT. So you can see here on the right hand side of the table, the interview is worth, in this case, 33.3%, and the typical length of the interview is anywhere from 20 to 90 minutes of actual assessment. So when you understand this, well, first and foremost, we talked about this a little bit more in the UCAT section of this resource page, right? So if you want to have a look at that, feel free to go check it out. But the interview is extremely, extremely important. So this 33 distribution isn't used by every single medical school or dental school, but generally speaking, it's quite similar. And if you want more info about the exact percentage weighting and how it's used, definitely check out and download the free handbook, right? So you can have a look just below to see the access to how to download it, and you can keep a copy for yourself. We update this handbook regularly for how interviews in UCAT and ATAR is used. Anyways, for the purposes of this, we look at 33. And you can see that whatever interviews assess, which is attributes or traits or skills or anything of that nature that helps you become a more suitable candidate for medicine and dentistry, is extremely important. So important, in fact, that there are students that I often come across who have great ATARs. We're talking about 99.9, if not 99.95. Great UCATs. We're talking about 97, 98, 99, but actually don't get into med school. And they often think it's because their UCAT wasn't maybe perfect, or maybe they were 0.05 off a perfect ATAR. But no, it's really the interview. Because if you look at the interview and how much time is given to scoring you, or how much time it takes for them to determine the 33.3% in your final weighting, there's not a lot of time. Because if you look at ATAR, let's say we use ATAR, right? Let's say you do 5 subjects in year 12. If your interview is 20 minutes, what you do, simple math, 20 minutes divided by 5, it means that 4 minutes of the interview is worth exactly the same as all the effort, all the assessments, all the assignments, all the blood, sweat, tears, whatever it may be, that you've put into one of your year 12 subjects. But in the interview, it's 4 minutes. And that could literally be one question worth of assessment. Okay, it could be, why do you want to become a doctor? It could be something along the lines of scenario-based questions. It could be, what are your thoughts on euthanasia? Should it be legalized? It could be anything like that. But 4 minutes of the interview is worth, in the case of a 20-minute interview, the same as one whole subject, in year 12, which is crazy. And people, I don't know why, but people don't realize the full importance and significance of all of the other things that interviews assess that ATAR and UCAT doesn't. So in terms of a slightly longer interview, let's say 60 minutes, if we do the math again, 60 divided by 5, instead of 4 minutes per year 12 subjects, now 12. Is it better? Yes, but it's still a lot. Think about how much stress you have for a exam that's worth, let's say for argument's sake, 50% of the whole year's worth of grades for one subject. In the case of a 60-minute interview, that is equivalent to 6 minutes, right? And for a 90-minute interview, and interviews don't really go on for too much longer than 90 minutes at all, you're looking at 18 minutes after you divide it up into 5s, right? So is it important? It's extremely important. In fact, it's so important that your goal of anything for your ATAR and UCAT should just be to land an interview. As long as you get the interview, it means that you still have the opportunity to get into medicine or dentistry, right? I actually know people in the past who I would have counted them out in terms of the ATAR and UCAT that they had for that particular year, but maybe because of various factors, such as the fact that that year wasn't necessarily as competitive as other years, or the fact that sometimes you get really late interview call-ups, quite literally the day before. You might get a call from the med school that you want to get an interview at, and they'll say, hey, are you free tomorrow for an interview? And that's because someone decided not to attend the interview, that they're able to land that interview and do extremely well in this interview, which means in, let's say, a 20-minute interview where 4 minutes is worth a whole Year 12 subject, you can easily cover for any slight deficiencies in your ATAR and UCAT with 4 minutes of the interview. Right, so interviews are extremely, extremely, extremely important in this way, and for good reason. And we know that great doctors and dentists aren't just good at studying, acquiring knowledge, aren't just good at making evidence-based decisions, but they have all these other suite of traits that helps them empathize, helps them be effective, helps them work with others so that they can benefit the communities they're in. Therefore, I think the moral of the story is when you're looking at distribution of weighting, such as 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or in some cases, certain universities look at like a 40-20-40 split, 40 ATAR, 20 UCAT, 40 interviews, and usually for universities like that, the UCAT is actually used as the screening tool to even get an interview, like a stage 1 barrier you have to pass. Interviews are always more or less on par, with ATAR, right, in terms of how important it is. And a key part of how you prepare is actually having genuine experiences whereby you've learnt more about these traits that are highly valued by interviewers. But also, very, very importantly, through various experiences at school, out of school, and that's where voluntary work comes into this, you're able to put yourself in a different position and be challenged in a different way to acquire a different version of, let's say, empathy, right, that is more suitable for medicine. And that's where a little bit goes a long way, and that through your experiences, through your learning, you're able to score big time, right? So, again, the interview is a high return type of assessment if you know what you're doing. So it's absolutely important to prepare for it in the right way and capitalize on the opportunity.